And I'm gonna let you finish, Pete. But first, the funny thing is, I started the play on OBS, and I forgot to hit the stream button, so I don't even know if it's streaming. Yes. Okay, we are up. We are up. I was sitting here watching the countdown of the thing before it went live, and then I realized I hadn't clicked the button to make it go live. Oh, I fail at this. I'm a raw beginner. I have no idea what I'm doing. I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. So good morning, everybody. I've got, yeah, surprise cold start. It was the cold open on this episode, on this episode of Chaos. So I'm just going to do one final check, but I checked earlier and the TTS was not working. Nope, still saying bad gateway. So sadly, we don't have the funky music on super chats and memberships and those sorts of things, and I don't have a list of people in the channel, so I'm going to use my eyes and my brain and try to do it the old-fashioned way. So good morning to Braze and Crispian, Pete, Henrik, scrolling down, who else is here? Scott Miller, Gerald42, Gateway Community Church, which is Amanda. I saw Amanda later in the chat too. Mitch is here. Good morning. And some call it fun. Amanda is here under her actual personal account. Stephen George, Johnny Bergdahl, Lionel Maisels is here, and Pancake Legend. Good to see you, Andrew. So Johnny, member for 34 months, silver supporter, and didn't get the music. That's very sad. Russell Rainey, Any Mules, Mitchell. Mitchell is here. Sharky, Grant is here. Good morning. Tassie Bob is also here. Okay, hopefully. Oh, Paul Schultz, Sion. Bad gateway or naughty gateway? Ooh, maybe it's just being naughty. Imi, David C, and Jax Tech. Stephen W. I think I said hello to Stephen earlier. I can't remember. I said hello to Stephen George earlier. So, Pete says, bring Tassie Bob and me a burger. One burger between you? Or do you mean a burger each? Maybe 3 burgers so that I can have a burger as well. Sorry to Braze, TTS isn't working, so say hello is not working. Anyway, okay. Now, the agenda for today is to do what... I just did a reload. Yes, TTS looks like it is back up. Yay, thanks Mitchell. I'm just logging in to pull up the stream. Blueman74 is here as well. Thanks. Oh, because Mitchell says try again. Yeah, but it won't actually come through until I've got it loaded up, which is getting there now. So, soon?
Outside the box said test.
Yes, okay. It'll probably catch up on some messages.
Tabraze Malik said, hello.
Yes, hello. There we go. It is catching up. And I'm just clicking through names here. Who have I forgotten? I'm not sure. Sharky? Did I say hi to Sharky? Cassio, Mark Laguda, Stephen W. Oh yeah, I said hello to Stephen W. earlier, and Stephen George. Yes! Pete! It's working again.
Mitchell R said, I forgot to start the UI service. Sorry.
That's okay.
PEBKAC.
Yeah, that's fine, Mitchell.
Imogen Ann said, Amanda Thompson said, good morning, John.
Good morning, Amanda. Hey, so before we get into other things, Amanda, do you have any update on your recording desk rebuild, the repair work that you were doing recently? There was that water damaged audio desk, the mixing desk that you were fixing last week. I think it was last week. So, Imi said something in Russian, I think. I don't know what it was. Pete just wants the dog. Yeah, Pete wanted this.
Super chat, where you at? Let the party grow. Lights up, feel clap in this awesome show.
Image in hand said, Dobra Utro.
I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to repeat it. So, full AUD, yeah. When I know it's silly, I really like it, but whenever the audio goes off on the super chats and the memberships, like this one for Henrik, it makes me feel like I'm a gaming streamer or something. I should be I should be streaming something. Okay,
Image in
so
hand said, it means good morning.
okay, thanks, Imi. I should be streaming something, but I don't really know what. About the only thing I could stream is playing The Last of Us, but nobody wants to see that. Too depressing. So here you can have a live preview of the printer that right now is just finishing some parts. What have we got? 32 minutes remaining on the print. I'm doing some printing with polycarbonate at the moment. I got an AMS HT on Friday. Yeah, Friday. I've lost track of what day it is. I got an AMS HT on Friday and a roll of polycarbonate, and so I'm printing parts. It's actually polycarbonate FR, which is flame retardant. It's a special type of printer filament which is very, very strong and hard, and it doesn't relax in the same way as things like PLA.
Playing solitaire.
Solitaire, yeah. And here comes a hot dog from Henrik. What is it? 1.49 euros. What is that in Australian dollars? 3, 2, 1. Okay, I got that wrong. TTS is catching up. It'll get there. Worked out how to integrate with OBS to do it, but other things, core stuff getting finalized soon. I don't know what you're talking about there. Really need some on-screen stuff with the super chats, like fireworks or balloons or something. Ah, I see. That's what Pete is referring to. Why did Henrik's super chat not? Oh, okay. It's just. I think it's just that it's catching up. Maybe? I can't even see it. It has Henrik Super Chat has not shown up in the thingamajigamy. Pete's face is solid, hard, and doesn't relax. John Whips is here as well, and Scott Miller. Welcome to the stream. My hot Swedish friend Johnny sending some sex. 100 of them. But the TTS is not seeing these things for some reason. Oh, there it did. So that's the one from Johnny. That's the one from Johnny.
Said, yay, buy a hot dog for lunch.
Yeah, a hot dog for lunch. No, actually, I've got a far more exciting lunch than that, which means I'm actually going to cut this live stream a little bit short today. I'm going to finish about 11:30.
How's the souvlaki search going?
Souvlaki search is not going that well. I haven't yet found a genuine souvlaki place locally, which is sad. Yeah, anyway, I have a lunch thingy to go to today, which I am very excited about. And so I'm gonna be bailing at about 11:30 because it's a little bit of a trip to get there, and I do not want to be late. So, nope, not souvlaki, Gerald. Not this time. So I'm going to get straight into what I was trying to do last week and failing at, which was making progress on this. I never actually got to doing anything useful on this. Yeah, Austin says all you have to do is let's see how this goes, and then the internet signal seems to stop. Yeah. Johnny says, well, local time here is 2:11 a.m, so you can cut it short as much as you want. Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming. I will see you next week. Okay. I need to get something functional on this conveyor. I'm in a situation now where, oh yes, John says, didn't get the chance to thank for the gift of membership last week after the premature end. Yeah, it all just sort of went sideways last week. What I'm going to do is just build something with this, for this conveyor controller. Henrik says 3:12 a.m. here as usual. Yeah. What are you doing, Henrik? Oh, you know, just a couple of days ago, in fact, I wonder if I can find this. I'm going to pull up photos, Apple Photos, because it does location-based search, and find a photo or two from Talon. Not Photo Booth. Why did Photo Booth open when I tried to open Photos? Photos, because it's alphabetically first, and I only typed photo. Okay, let's do a quick zoom in. Talon, here we go. Show me pictures of Talon. And okay, here is one picture of Talon. This was many years ago, and yes, that is snow sitting up on top of the cupola and lying around in the streets. This was
In watching a cool bald man doing some electronics that I will never understand, I think.
19th of December, so it was just before Christmas 2018. And what else? The Christmas market was on. Where's the Christmas market? Here? Yes. Sorry, I'm being selective about what pictures I show. So there is the Christmas market in Talon. Once again, oh, this was 19th of December 2018, 3:06 p.m. Yeah. As Crispian says, yeah, kebab does not equal souvlaki. Yes, I would love to go back to Estonia and visit again. Yeah, maybe soon. Maybe soon. Austin says squirrel. Yes. And as Scott says, pictures from before the world took a dump. Alright, so now my conveyor situation is that this project has been stalled for way too long, and the problem is that I have been chasing the perfect at the expense of the good, and I need to do something about it. Henrik said, the market is a cool place because the prices are so high that after you leave your bank account is empty. Yeah, but the thing is that when you're traveling and when you're in a foreign place for a short period of time, like I was only there for a day, you don't have a sense of what's reasonable. Like it's in a different currency that you're not familiar with, and you don't know whether stuff is expensive locally. Like it could be normal for things to be that price locally, you just don't know. So, you know, it'd be like someone saying to me, "Oh yeah, that cup of coffee is $50," and I go,
Pete said,
Okay.
conveyor squirrel.
maybe? Is that reasonable? I have no idea. I have no frame of reference. Yeah, the problem is I need to get some conveyor action happening, and it is better for me to do a dodgy half-assed thing now than to try to do a perfect thing and just not finish it. So I need to not obsess so much over making the form factor perfect. I just need a controller. Like, I'm just going to make a rectangular PCB, figure out how to mount it later, and do the basic things. Andrew said, "Happy Debian release day." Is there a Debian release today? Really? Debian release. I had not been paying much attention to DDVal recently. Where are we? So, oh, Trixie, current stable release.
Didn't you already have a conveyor controller?
Yes. So, the situation is I do have a conveyor controller, but this is the problem. Here we go. I'll show you the current one, Conveyor 2.0. In fact, I'll just show you the 3D model of it because the schematic and everything doesn't matter. This is just to convey the concept. This version has CAN bus and power on there. There is a CAN transceiver. What else have we got? We've got ready in, ready out connections because I was trying to make it general purpose. Front and rear DC motors. There's a stepper for the Y-axis. There's a voltage regulator module and a limit switch input, which is for homing on the Y-axis. But it's got no microcontroller on it. What it does is plug into a touchscreen module with an ESP32 on it. The problem is that those particular touchscreen modules, the WS20, what is it? I can't remember. The touchscreen modules are I designed it for a version of the screen. What is it? The WT32SC01? Is that right? I'm going totally from memory here. Yeah, that particular thing was then superseded by the Plus version, which has a different pinouts, and it's unstable. I actually have this right now. I have one of these boards with the touchscreen connected to my prototype conveyor. Austin's got it. He's on top of the case. WT32-SC01 is the part number. There is now. So that particular screen was superseded by the Plus version, which is the one that Austin has been using for some of his projects and is supposedly a whole lot better. So what I need, ideally what I should do is redesign this to go onto the Plus screen. The problem is I ordered some Plus screens, the delivery failed, they got returned to the sender, I got reimbursed by AliExpress, and it all turned into a schmozzle, and I don't have any of them. So what I need to do is just make something that works. Oh, there's another one now, Austin. So Austin said WT32SC01 Plus. That's the one I was thinking of that I should switch to. And WT32S386S. Ah, okay, refresh the UI. Okay, here we go. I'm going to refresh for Austin. Refreshing now, loading. Okay, it has reloaded.
Mitchell R said, please refresh the UI for me. I changed something for Super Sticker Event to work like Super Chat Event. Wired Henrik Ostrov didn't have music.
Ah, okay, cool. So that's why it didn't come out earlier. Here we go. Let's see if I can now do the thing for Henrik. If I scroll back, I'm not sure where it is. It's back in history somewhere. Yep. So next time it should work. Very good. Now, I have spent way too much time kind of going in circles and not getting to any end result, with the result that I have a controller on my conveyor right now which crashes frequently. Any Mule said redesigned to use a squixel. Yes, so that is a large part of the thought process. Where's the squixel? It's around here somewhere. Somewhere? Yeah, one of Sion's squixels I've got here somewhere. I had it on my desk, and then Lachlan took it because he was going to look at using it to integrate with one of his machines, but then it came back. It's somewhere. Anyway, so that change, seeing the squixel changed my way of thinking about this, and it made me realize that I don't really need a touchscreen on the conveyor controller. It just needs CAN bus because I want to integrate it with the controllers for the pick and place machines, etc. But it also needs Wi-Fi, or Ethernet would do, but Wi-Fi, so that MQTT is a critical thing. Because if it can be controlled and monitored via MQTT, it means that I can use something like a squixel or my phone or anything as a way of controlling it. I don't need an actual touchscreen on the device itself. What I could do is have one squixel, which is the interface that controls all the conveyors, because there are going to be multiple conveyors. There are going to be at least 5 conveyors in my system. And I want to be able to do things like resize all the conveyors and have them adjust their widths, or tell them to play pause, that sort of thing, change modes like time delivery versus on demand, all of those sorts of things. And what I would like to do is control the whole thing as a system. I don't want to have to go to each conveyor and say, you go to 88 millimeters, and you go to 88 millimeters, and you go to 88 millimeters. I should just have one thing. So if I have a squixel, which is just magnetically snapped on a dock, and it's got a touchscreen on it, I can use that to control everything. So that, yeah, and as Henrik said, is about to say, hopefully
Henrik
with
Ostrov
TTS.
said, oh yeah, your phone or tablet can play Tay-roll of touchscreen.
Exactly. And that is what led me down the track of this major rip and replace redesign. And I basically just deleted everything, well, most things, and ended up with a much simplified system. Also, I've deleted the ready in and ready out connections that are used for integration between machines, so that machines know when to pass things between each other, because that is going to be taken care of over CAN bus, not just with like contacts. And I have very much got to the state, the mental state, I suppose you could call it, of I just need to solve my immediate problem. I don't need to solve the world's problems, make a universal conveyor controller. I just need something that's going to solve my problem. So I've eliminated ready in, ready out, because I wasn't going to use those anyway. I was always going to coordinate this over CAN bus. And so, yeah, as Gerald42 says, simplify. So I started on this approach of, if I'm not going to use it, just delete it out of the design, which is why this looks so ridiculously simple now. There's not much left there. Okay, so because I am not relying on an Stephen W says, if this doesn't solve world hunger, it's a failure. So because I'm not relying on the WT32SC01 anymore for its microcontroller, I need my own microcontroller, which means I have a Room32S3 module on here because I'm lazy, and I just just throw a module at it rather than designing with the bare chip, because it solves all my problems for like $4. And I'm just making a few of these. I'm not optimizing, so I don't care. I'm just using the module. So what have we got? We've got an ESP32 with reset. What is going on? Oh, that's a tab. That is a weird... Oh, I know why. Yeah, I was just looking at this footprint going, what the hell is going on with this net that's looping back around here? That's because that is a weird footprint. It's a weird button. It's a right angle through hole tact switch, which is probably not really necessary. No, stuff it, I'll leave it on. What have we got? We've got pull up and a cap on enable. We've got a pull up and a snoot button on IO0. We've got pull ups on I2C. I've got some pin assignments here. So I've got CAN bus assigned, CAN TX, CAN RX. I've got the X shut assignments for the sensors. So the PCB sensors are time of flight sensors. Each one has its own. So GPA 1, X shut. Okay, so I need to match. This is something I still need to do, is I need to finish matching nets, because GPA 1, that designator, that net name, is based on, excuse me, is based on using the IO expander, which was currently in this design, and then I deleted it. So right now, this net goes absolutely nowhere. So I've got dangling nets to deal with. So what I need to do is, firstly, have a quick high-level look at what else do we need in here, if anything. Secondly, make sure I catch all the dangling nets, and then start squishing it onto the board. All right. It is hang on. Why is the stream not showing? What is going on here? I'm looking at what? Why?
Make at least one more than you think you need. Adapt one to make an automatic squirrel feeder.
Yeah, okay, automatic squirrel feeder. But something very weird has just been going on with OBS. I've just started... Okay, the question is, can you see the schematic that I've got on screen? Because according to OBS you can, according to YouTube you can't. And I have no idea what's going on right now. You can, yes, okay, I am... Cool, thank you for confirming that. Because I just jumped to the YouTube... Hang on, I got a cough. Pete, of course you say no. I jumped to the YouTube console.
Henrik Ostrov said, "Why does it need so many capacitors?"
And it is not showing anything useful. Why does it need so many capacitors? That is a very good question. Maybe it does not need so many capacitors. But, ooh, Austin just sent me something on Discord. A screenshot. Okay, cool. Thank you. Alright, so it is coming through. I don't know what's going on with the YouTube studio or why OBS thought that it was not connected to the stream. Oh well. Okay, so the voltage regulator right here, the LMR3 8020, is a switch mode regulator, and the datasheet for it calls for several things. Firstly, it needs a 100 nanofarad bootstrapping capacitor on the inductor on the output, and that is just because as it is starting up, it begins driving into the inductor, and this capacitor I think is used as part of that bootstrapping process. And then on the it recommends on both the input and the output side putting multiple kind of like low ESR resistors. I think partly just because of the frequency that it runs at, something like that. Okay, any mules? So speaking of squirrels, where are Steve and Steph? We haven't seen them for ages. Yeah, you haven't. Every time I've been asked recently, I have fobbed it off, kind of as a joke. I've ignored it. So there is Steph, there is Steve. They are still here doing their squirrely things. They are never very far away. They just sit up on the shelf. Yeah, so switch mode regulators like to have low ESR on both their input and their output capacitance. ESR is equivalent series resistance, and that is a characteristic of capacitors which determines, among other things, how well they respond in the frequency domain. So two capacitors of equal value in terms of the amount of energy they can store can behave differently depending on their equivalent series resistance. So high equivalent series resistance means they undergo voltage drops and cannot provide as much burst current as when it has low ESR. So putting multiple capacitors in parallel gives you, it's like having resistors in parallel. If you have 3 resistors in parallel and they're all the same value, then the total resistance will be 1/3 of those 3 resistance. And I said 3 because I've got 3 capacitors here. So by putting 3 22 microfarad ceramics on the input side, I get 1/3 overall of the equivalent series resistance of having one larger value capacitor. And lower value capacitors tend to have lower ESR anyway, I think, just as a generality.
Pete said, wait, I missed Steve and Steph. I was AFK making coffee. I believe you are all participating in Jono's great squirrel conspiracy.
Yeah, that's right. We knew that you were away making coffee, and so that is why I did that. So there's a 220 microfarad bulk cap, and on the output side it's the same sort of thing. We've got, in this case, 4 capacitors in parallel and 220 microfarad bulk cap. So it's a nearly symmetrical arrangement with bulk cap and low ESR rapid reacting ceramics on the input and the output. So that's the only reason for that. So similar on the 3.3 volt regulator, it's just got some 22 microfarads and a 220 bulk. So that is for making sure the 3.3 voltage regulator is nice and smooth. So what have we got here? We've got alright, so let's do some schematification. We've got V in here, which is coming from the other sheet, and we'll check the source of V in a moment, because I did this by merging 2 projects. I've got nets from both those projects with different names, and it is quite possible, hypothetically, that I could have brought this part of the circuit in from one of the projects, and I've got a V in plus net here, but not connected to anything else. Now, I do actually know that it is connected to something else, because on the designator it is showing 1.7D, which means it is linked on sheet 1 at grid reference 7D. So if I wanted to go and find the other side of that particular connection, that's where I would find it. Grid 1, 7D. So, but anyway, it just illustrates the problem. It could well be that when I brought this in, I would have a schematic here that says, oh, the input side of this is connected to VN plus, and then there's nothing on the other side of VN plus. It doesn't go anywhere or come from anywhere, so then the circuit wouldn't work. So we've got VN coming in, then we've got an e-stop connection, and that is just a pluggable screw header, screw terminal, so that I can either put a jumper in it, like I could just put a plug in it and jumper the e-stop and it would work just fine, or I could run that out to an external cable and run it through like one of those big red mash buttons, and you hit the button and everything stops. So that is an actual electrical e-stop which will kill all power to the system, and it is the very first thing even before the fuse. Which raises an interesting question. Should the fuse be before or after the e-stop? It probably should be before, so that if there is a fault in the e-stop, then it will it'll blow the fuse. I don't know. Yeah, it could be either way. Austin says before. Okay, so fuse should be before the e-stop. Mike O'Connor is here too. Good morning, Mike. Okay, since Austin said fuse should be before, and in Austin I trust, I am going to do this. Yeah, merge those nets, move that over here. Let's just take it up a fraction. VN plus, I'm going to delete that net entirely because I want to link VN plus to the outside of the fuse, and bring that along here, and let's stick a net on a net name, stick a label on it, and we will call it VN plus, and auto-complete the net name because it already exists. Connect, yes, done. Okay, so now we have, hang on, do we have room to the right to move things? Not a lot. I'm running out of space here on the left. I can cramp it up a fraction. Nah, it's ugly. I'll leave it like that. Okay, so we've got VN coming in, goes through a 2 amp fuse, through the e-stop, and then into the power switch. From the power switch, it goes into an SS56 diode, that's a Schottky diode, which gives us our nominal 12 volt rail. It's not actually a regulated 12 volts. This is whatever power is coming in from VN plus after we've lost a little bit through the diode is going to be our 12 volt rail. So we're kind of relying on yeah, it may, what I could do is send a higher voltage down the wire, like 24 volts, and then have an onboard 12 volt regulator. And that would give me a more constant voltage to feed to the motors. But this is I need to satisfy the requirements here, not do perfection. And my plan is to send 12 volts down the wire, so that's the way it is. Alright, so 12 volts goes into a voltage regulator, which comes out and it gives us a 5 volt rail, and the 5 volt rail comes to the input of a 3.3 volt regulator, which gives us a 3.3 volt rail and a power LED. Okay, so there's not much else on there. So as Austin pointed out, alright, so Austin said, especially considering you'd have wires leaving the PCB to said e-stop, so it may not be the stop itself that fails. So yes, before. That is a very good point. So if we've got power coming in here and going out to a cable that might be on the bench somewhere or attached to part of the chassis, going to the e-stop button, there could, for example, be damage to that wire that shorts it to the chassis, and that would be very bad. So having the fuse as the very first thing is the sensible thing to do. And I am very happy to go with Austin's recommendation on that. Okay, now VIN plus. So the only thing we care about on this sheet is we've got VIN, and then it gives us 5 and 3 volt rails. So let's go and look at where VIN is coming from. So we've got CAN bus coming in, and we have CAN high, CAN low, V raw. Well, I've labeled it V raw. Yeah, that's as good a name as any. Maybe I should make it VN plus just to make it consistent with the net name. So the power that comes in on that CAN cable then goes to VN plus, and we've got a ground connection as well because we need a ground reference on the CAN bus. So Mike said if you're in my world, you need to have an e-stop which causes a shutdown, but you also need to confirm all the devices in the path shut down. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So you've got closed loop feedback on the e-stop. That is interesting. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, I've mentioned Mike's work on streams in the past, but it's been quite a while. One of the things that Mike does is build large machinery for handling hay bales. And hang on, cough again. So he builds big industrial, well, no, big agricultural robots, I suppose is the best way of putting it. Wool bales. Okay, Mike says wool bales. I got it wrong. Sorry. Similar sort of scale though. So yeah, the machines he builds handle bales of wool. So they're moving large things around. There are people nearby. Safety is a big thing.
Said, how large fuse are you planning to use?
Oh, I was going to put a 2 amp fuse on it. Only because that is the smallest mini blade fuse that you can easily buy. If I could buy like a 1 amp fuse or something, I would use that, but I can't. So I'm using 2 amp, which is definitely overkill. But it should, if there was a dead short on the cable or something, the fuse would blow. It's just that fuses take way more to blow than you think. If a fuse is rated at 2 amps, typically you could run up to 2 amps through it continuously and it will not blow. There is a response curve. Amanda! Amanda is a member for 29 months. Thank you, Amanda. So 29 months. Time flies. So yes, I've talked about this in the past as well, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but the reality with fuses is that, so in my head for a long time, I thought that if a fuse was rated at 2 amps, then when you put 2 amps of current through it, the fuse would blow. Below 2 amps, you're safe. Above 2 amps, you're not. It is nowhere near that simple. What actually happens is the fuse has a time to blow rating. Oh, hang on. I need a drink as well. Back, I hope. The fuse has a time to blow rating which is inversely proportional to the amount by which you exceed the current rating. Yeah, as Jack said, 2 amps for the rated TTB time, the time to blow time. So if you have a 2 amp fuse and you run 2 amps through it, it could take a minute, a couple of minutes before it blows. It's not going to go like that. It won't just pop as you might expect. You could put probably 3 amps through it and it might sit there for 30 seconds before it blows. Put 4 amps through it and it might blow in like 10 seconds. So yeah, it's a curve. So if you look at the data sheets on fuses, you will find that fuses are more complex things than you might first think. So a 2 amp fuse, to my mind, is, I I would actually go for something a little bit smaller in this application, but I'm using automotive mini blade fuses, and 2 amps is about the smallest that you can generally get. You can sometimes find 1 amp automotive mini blade fuses, but they are very rare. They're not the sort of thing that it's normally carried. Jack's text there, shouldn't be minutes, should be under 30 seconds unless it's a really slow blow fuse. Yes, so that all comes down to the fuse ratings. Oh, this style. Ah, yeah, okay. So, here we go. Also, I should put this up here. Austin said, I've been very happy with this style on a few projects that weren't suitable for a poly fuse. Yeah, this...
Henrik Ostrov said, Eve blog did some test he did put some in freezer before and then did the test. I suggest watching it.
Oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, so pre-cooling it. For those of you who couldn't hear the TTS just then, the comment was... Henrik said, EEV blog, which is Dave Jones up in Sydney, did some test. He put some in a freezer before and then did the test. Yeah, so my expectation is that it would make the fuse last longer because they are a thermal device, and until it gets up to temperature, it won't blow. Yeah, freezing the fuse has made a big difference. Yeah. If they're not sitting at ambient temperature. What it all comes down to is the way a fuse works is it melts. It's got to get hot.
Henrik Ostrov said, freezing the fuses made a big difference.
Yeah, so if you... yeah, I'm kind of tempted to switch to this type of fuse, but I don't have any. All right, 50 amp SMD, 50A SMD fuse. So you can get 250 milliamp, 125 volt. Oh yeah, that's 250 milliamp with the holder. Is that right? Anyway, I will investigate that. I'm going to keep this open and miniaturize the window so I can come back to it. Jack Sex said a fuse is just a non-resettable temperature controlled switch. That's accurate. Yeah, so okay. Guru says I feel the same about EEV blog. What? What do you mean? Austin says they come in a huge variety of currents, and that specific one is fuse plus holder, but can be bought separated. Yeah, I've seen that style before. In fact, that style is what is in the Raiden power supplies that I like to use. They have about 4 or 5 of those fuses inside. Does changing the fuse temperature defeat the trip function? Well, if you keep it cool, yes. Alistair said Tesla have done away with automotive fuses for most circuits and use active power sensing and control instead. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, fusing in an EV would be interesting because the currents are just so high, and getting the characteristics would be really hard, because you want to, if you blow the fuse, imagine you blow the main power fuse in an EV and you can't drive anymore. But you need to be able to pull very large burst currents out of the battery. So tuning it to make it so that it trips when it should and doesn't trip when it shouldn't, that would be really hard with the sort of currents and things that are available with the EV. LSA said I also have some funky Zigbee active circuit breakers that do power monitoring. Cool. Scott, we are about to get Scott's comment. I think. It'll come. and it sounds like an experiment that
Scott
should be
Miller
done.
said, wonder how much extra current you could pull through a 1A fuse in liquid hydrogen.
Liquid hydrogen. Liquid hydrogen. Why hydrogen? What is the temperature of liquid hydrogen? Fuse overclocking. Yeah. Put like a 100 milliamp fuse in something, immerse it in a coolant bath, and then all of a sudden it's rated at 10 amps. So change home switch pin out and replace with JSDXH. I've got notes to myself. All right, so we've got power coming in. We've got the CAN termination here with a jumper. We have the transient voltage suppression on CAN bus, and we have a fully isolated CAN transceiver, but with the grounds commoned, which I need the grounds commoned because
Tabray's Malik said, use the hydrogen explosion to disconnect.
yeah, that's right. An actual explosion for the fuse, like explosive bolts releasing things on spacecraft. Mike said the primary fuse on an EV is a pyro, meaning it's more like a switch which cannot be reset. Yeah. Turn that fuse back on. Yeah, anyway, so I've got a CAN transceiver here with 3.3 volts on the internal side where it connects to the logic. So CAN, TX and RX are at 3.3 volt logic. The logic side of the chip is running at 3.3 volts.
Path. Just send the fuse up in outer space with wires and helium balloon.
That may not work as well as you think, Henrik, because cooling things in space is actually a problem because there is no convection current. And there's nothing to conduct out to other than what you take with you, like any heat sinks. So the only option for keeping things cool in space is radiation. So you have to be able to take the energy and radiate it out. Cooling on spacecraft is a significant problem. It's one of those things where people say, space is cold, it's freezing cold. So, but no, it doesn't work like that at all. Space is the absence of things, including the absence of material that you need to conduct heat away when you generate it. Yeah, as Scott said, space isn't cold or hot, it just isn't. Yeah, it's an absence. So, yes. Wagon Load said a suggestion, just connect a temperature control fuse to a Peltier circuit, then it would be a smart fuse. Yeah. Okay, I want to get back onto this, but that reminds me there was a joke project I wanted to do many years ago called Freeze Loader, where you take an ESP32 and you take its IO0 pin. So you do not connect the IO0 pin to an external programmer. What you do is connect it to a thermistor so that you can only reprogram your ESP32 by freezing it. So there'd be no, boot mode button or anything. You could plug in your programmer, you just can't put it into bootloader mode. So, unless you chuck it in the freezer. So put your ESP32 in the freezer, and then you can reflash it, and take it out, it warms up, and you can't reflash it again. Yeah, freeze loader. Did I just reveal something? I don't know. My notifications came up on screen. Freeze when frozen. Yeah. So, okay, we've got our Vroom 32 here. We have let's check some nets. So we've got IO16 CAN TX and 17 CAN RX. 16 and 17, and down here we've got 16 and 17. Okay, so we have linked nets. And if I do the view tool here, you can see that those nets are linked. Would that, Scott said, would that be the opposite of burning the code into it? Yes, freeze the code into it. Okay, now, piezo, is that connected? Oop. Yes, it is. And then I know I need to change the X shut things. So X shut 1 is, so it's 13, 14, 15 are X shut 1, 2, 3. So IO 13, I need to rename this net to IO 13, whoops. Java only ever comes up with this on Sundays. No, 13, X shot 1. Yes. IO 14, IO 14, X shot 2. Yeah, every Sunday my Java update notification comes up during a live stream every Sunday morning. And if I try to get it to run, I have actually tried, it comes up with an error saying Java is unable to update. So it's broken. I haven't noticed any ill effects, so I ignore it. All right, so we've got, let's see, do I have I squared C connected correctly? So we've got IO5, yep, got IO5 as SDA, IO4 as SCL, and they are connected to the board sensors. We've got 3.3 volts and ground to the board sensors. Okay, now limit switch. IO12 is going to the limit switch, so the y-axis limit has a signal. I do not have a series resistor on this signal. I can't be bothered adding one. And okay, X-axis motor driver. And okay, so this DRV8871 is a little H-bridge motor driver for driving the front and rear DC motors. So that is connected. Okay, we have nets on that. One thing I am missing at the moment is I do not have any connections for actually programming the ESP. That's a little bit of an oversight. We'll get to that. Oh, what am I doing? macOS has this thing where if you drag, I think if you drag with two fingers close together from right to left, it pulls your notifications in sideways, which is really annoying when I'm trying to pan, because if you use two fingers for dragging it in Fusion, it pans. But if my fingers get too close together, instead of panning, it pulls the notifications in. So, oh, I do have USB connection. Oh, look at that. I was thinking ahead. So we've got charge control 1 and 2, resistors, ground, we've got nothing on S-bus, we've got DP3, DM3, Wagonload says, I just got some DRV8833 motor drivers. Yeah, there are a few different motor drivers in that family. There's the 8871, also an 8872. So the 8871 has this ILIM, which is current limiting input. If you put a 15k resistor to ground on ILIM, it sets the current limit to its maximum value. And but you can pull it down. But it's only rated to, I think it's only rated to 2 amps or something anyway. And I'm only going to be pulling a couple hundred milliamps. So I just stick the current limit on max. There is another variant of this called the 8872, where which works the same, except that pin is used as an output. I think it's like an overcurrent alert pin or something. And the 8833 I'm not that familiar with, but some years ago I went through the 88 series motor driver family and looked at all the different versions. Anyway, the 8871 is one that I've used on many projects. I have good stock of it, so I just threw that down as a known thing. Status LED. Okay, I am going to get rid of this, and I am going to... All right, I'm going to kill that because just recently I have been using, where are we, Superhouse LEDs, that one, I believe. Is it this one? Got to find, oh, that's a side illumination LED. There, not that one. What's that? Oh, 7-segment LED. No, not there. 2813. Maybe it's in the other library. Let's try this other Superhouse library. WS2812. Yes, here we go. Okay, 5mm, 8mm. I'm going to stick down a 5mm WS2812 through hole RGB LED for novelty value. Where can I make it fit? I'm just going to stick it there for now, and then I'm going to doink. Then I am going to clean up some things here to make some room for it. So what do I want to do? I'll run it at 3.3 volts. I don't want that data out there. I'm going to move that temporarily. I'm just going to move this along to give myself enough room to put this in. VDD, yes, that can go there. Bring this down. Snap the nets, that's good. In fact, what I'm going to do is bring this down one more, I think. And then bring that down. Bring that down. Join that net, join that to there. So we've got data outlinked. And I'm going to get rid of that. And I'll link that net directly. Yeah, I don't know if that's more or less ugly. It's pretty ugly, you know, in any case. Okay, so we now have a through-hole RGB LED. Pete says, use all the libraries all the time. Yeah, I've been trying to rationalize libraries recently, switching over to hub libraries. So Fusion 360 has 3 different ways of storing your parts libraries, and my libraries originally came in from Eagle. I imported them as local libraries, and then I synced them to Autodesk's cloud service, and now I'm in the process of converting them to what's called hub libraries, which allows you to live collaborate with other people. So, for example, my son Tom, if he's using Fusion, could access, could use the same libraries. Like, we can share the libraries through the organization license and keep everything consistent across all of our projects. So there are some libraries where if I add a part, it pops up multiples. Like if I go to the add part dialog, you can see there are 2 diodes libraries here, and there are 2 ICs libraries, 2 LEDs libraries, and that's because I am part way through migrating libraries. A lot of them I've already done, but there are some that I still need to finish off. Yeah, so what am I doing? WS2812B through-hole 5mm RGB LED running off 3.3 volts with the data coming in at 3.3 volts, going out with a 5-volt connection to a stack light so that there can be some other thing in there. And yes, I am well aware that this is outside of spec. I don't care. Don't at me on your comments. I am doing what I'm doing. So, what other things do we have on here? We verified CAN bus, didn't we? So the Y-axis stepper. Let's just make sure that they have sensible things defined. Okay, so we've got 4 inputs to the stepper motor controller, which runs at 5 volts, and we can drive it with 3.3 volt logic, I'm pretty sure. So, because I think that's what I'm doing already. That's what I was doing on the existing controller. So 3.3 volt logic from the ESP can drive the stepper inputs, even though the stepper itself runs off a 5 volt supply. Then we have so it's LED display. I will get back to in just a second, because that is a thing. Oh, Wagonload says, that is my problem with KiCad. When I make custom symbols and footprints, if I want to share a circuit. Yeah, well, with KiCad works very differently to the way Fusion handles its libraries. It used to work in a... No, I was going to say it used to work in a similar way to the way, but it's the other way around. Eagle used to store its libraries in a similar way to the way KiCad does. And you could share libraries with projects, and then people could load your library into Eagle the same way that if you're doing a project in KiCad, you can share the library which contains the parts used in that, and then when someone opens your project, they load your associated symbols and footprints and things, and it stays consistent. But now Fusion have changed it all for live online collaboration, which I got to say is pretty cool. Like being able to have multiple people seeing things without emailing files backwards and forwards or doing, you know, Git things, because Fusion has got versioning built in as well, is pretty cool. So what was I doing? That's right. Okay, so we've got nets on the X-axis motor driver, on the sensors, the limit sensor, the CAN bus interface. We have... Ooh, okay, so this is kind of lazy of me. I've got the USB-C connector going straight onto 5 volts. Let's stick a fuse in there, just because. So let's get rid of that net and stick in a MOV of some kind. Superhouse fuses. We'll stick in a little... No, PTC. Not a MOV. PTC. What am I talking about? That one... I think I want that one. So that's the symbol for a 500... Well, yeah, it's an 1812 footprint, which is the one that I have reels of these days. So let's stick that in there and give it a value of, yes, 500 milliamps. Oh, milliamps. And link those nets up. Let's just move this up here to make it a little bit neater. And yes, I know this is not in a nice box where it should be, because this schematic has got to be a bit of a jumble. So now we've got a polyfuse coming off the USB connection. I don't have any transient voltage suppression, like no static protection coming off that USB connection, but I kind of don't care. So, Scott says, KiCad embeds the parts in the schematic and PCB, no need to include the library. I also put everything in Git for version and collaboration.
Henrik Ostrov said, freeze them before soldering, so they will become 750 milliamperes once.
I think soldering would overcome that, Henrik. Yeah, so Eagle used to do the same. It used to embed everything in the project. So if you opened someone's project, you got all of the associated schematic symbols and footprints embedded in the project. And then you could even do things like copy to library and then pull it into your local library. So where are we? Okay, we've got USB. As I was saying, I have DP3, DM3. So that's data plus, data minus. Where does that go? Does it come up to here? Yeah, DP3. Why is it 3? Why have I called that 3? I don't know. Maybe it's just data. I'm tempted to just... I'm going to rename those to make them more sensible. I'm going to call that one USB
Unexpected Maker
DP.
said, can't you do that anymore in Fusion CAD extract parts from board into a library?
Yes, I'm pretty sure you can. I think you can. Every segment. USB DM. I think if I did something like right click on this Vroom module, I can say edit symbol, edit component. Copy symbol to library, copy component to library are options there. They are grayed out. That's because I don't have a library open. But if I opened a library, like say I opened my MCU's library, and I went, whoop, I could do copy component to library, and boom, you've got it in your own library. Yes. Don't apologize, Sion. And what are you doing trying to listen?
Unexpected Maker said, okay, sorry, encoding, so only catching bits and bobs of the conversation.
Yes, don't apologize. And what are you doing listening to me if you're trying to code? If you're... My brain would explode trying to do that. Trying to code and have a live stream on in the background? Nope. I would not be getting anything done. Okay, so... Is there anything else? Oh yes, that's right. Display. I have a... the footprint is for a 128 by 32 LCD, but being I2C, it really doesn't matter. What I could do is... where is displays? Displays, Superhouse displays, I2C OLEDs. What I could do is pick one of these. What's the difference between that and that? Oh, header only. That's the HO. What I'm thinking of doing is putting an I2C, putting a header on the board for Sion says, I'm not enjoying what I am coding and not enthused about it. Oh no. So looking for cheap distractions. I am a cheap distraction. So I'm thinking about this from the point of view of the board. Okay, I said I wasn't going to put a display on this. What I'm not going to do is put like a big interactive touchscreen interface on it that you use for managing the device. What I do want to do is put a small, cheap I2C OLED on it, because what I can do is even bring that out on a cable, maybe in a little 3D printed enclosure and mount it on the front of the conveyor, because it can show various bits of status information. It could show, for example, the IP address of the conveyor, or its MQTT topics, which will be dynamically generated off the chip ID. So it could display just generally useful config information, or what mode it's in, or what was the most recent command that it's received. So, but it's not the way that you would primarily control it. It's more like a diagnostic and status display. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting on a header for a little display, and it could either be, that little display could either be mounted on the PCB, or you could fit a cable and run it externally.
Amanda Thompson said, I find I get more done while I have a live stream, YouTube on as well as the radio. ADHD autistic.
Yeah, it very much depends on what works for your brain. And I find that sometimes I can't deal with background noise, sometimes I need it. And it just depends on my state of focus. So sometimes I'll have like a YouTube video or I'll have music or something on in the background while I am working on something, and other times I need silence. So yeah, it just depends on how much serotonin your brain is producing and all that sort of stuff. So Henrik said, oh yeah, Scott says, I put a 0.96 inch OLED header on everything for debug info like IP, etc. Cheap and easy and can depot if needed.
Henrik Ostrov said, how big is your OLED? You should use this 10.4964 by 32 graphic I2C OLED.
Yeah, well, this is a 0.91 inch. This is a 0.96.
Pete said, stop yawning.
No, Pete. This one is a 1.3 inch. Could be any of these. And the thing is that if it's on a cable, it doesn't really matter that much. So what I'm thinking of doing is just putting, so that's the version on a header. Yeah, what I'm thinking of doing is, which one do I have? 128 by 32, but which footprint is it? It is the header, yeah, that one. So these OLEDs are super cheap. They're only a couple of bucks each and really, really handy. Oh, can you look up the 0.49 inch one? It looks cute. Yeah, the tiny little
Stephen
displays.
W said, 15-minute warning.
Yes, thank you, Stephen W. I am not going to miss my social thing today, so I'm going to be finishing at 11:30. So, wagon loads. Just use a wireless OLED and placement doesn't matter. No, I'm going to put this on it. Now, is that still? Oh yeah, IO5 SDA. It is still the correct nets. Yep, cool. Okay, I think this is. This is enough. Notifications? Notifications. This is like a minimum viable conveyor controller. Now, this will solve my personal problems. We don't have ready in, ready out connections. We don't have a whole lot of things. We don't have a touch screen. We don't have a whole lot of things that would be... Gerald says we still haven't heard what's for lunch. Roast chook, I believe, is for lunch today. So this will solve my immediate problems of just being able to make the conveyor move. Now, what do we... Oh, let's change that style. Change to dots. Wait.
Unexpected Maker said, wait, this controller will solve your personal problems.
Oh, nothing can solve my personal problems, Sion. They are many, varied, and overwhelming.
Pete said, roast chook, why are you still here, you crazy man?
Because well, I'm going to be on my way to the roast chalk soon. Just not quite yet. All right, so let's look at some major... Once I've got, with this side pane open, can I reduce that? No. Can I change the view? No. I'm going to move this out of view. And that will allow me to do that, which then gives me more working space. There. Oh yeah, stuff it. Let's just maximize the window. Okay, now, what am I going to do? I'm going to just do some rough throwing things into the right spot sort of action.
Said, IDB on the road now to ensure ID not get held up by anything.
Yeah. Yeah, well, finishing at 11:30 is actually allowing myself a little bit of time, a little bit of margin. So let's playing it safe. Now, what I want to do is just dump all of this stuff into an approximately rectangular shape and figure out where things are going to go. So reset maybe stuff there. I'm just going to do like the high level, grab this chunk, move these things around, put them in about the right place.
Pete said 3 minutes. Henrik Ostrov
3?
said, I was on a work trip to Finland this week. We had a little bit of a free time and visited a store called Triapack. It was fun if you can check that out.
Triapack. Well, Henrik, I am not going to chase that squirrel right at this moment, but tell us more. What does Triapack do? You can fill us in while I am moving things around. What have I got? So that is the motor driver stuff. So I'll just chuck motor drivers up there. There is the CAN transceiver and the CAN connectors, which are just, let's do some cleaning up here. Get rid of that and that and that and that. And so those are pluggable terminals. Do I want them coming out the back or out the top? I am leaning towards having connections coming out the back so that they can then be routed. Or do I want to just plug them in the top? Decisions. All right, so power switch, I might move to the back. All right, so my general thinking here is to make just a square-ish type PCB and have that mounted horizontally within the realm, within the bounds of the frame of the conveyor. So I'll have cables coming into it from a couple of different places. I might just, so how much height do I have? I've got the 25 millimeters of the frame plus a couple of millimeters. So I don't have a huge amount of vertical space. Having connectors coming out vertically is probably not a great idea. So what I might do is change the CAN bus headers to horizontal. I will change those to, where are we? M04. I'm going to go for 3.8 millimeter horizontal plugs for both of those. Oh, symbol is different on that one. I updated that symbol and not the other. So now we should have horizontal plugs. All right, so I'm going to grab that, spin that around, shove it up here somewhere, shove that one up there somewhere, bring this back here, bring this back here. The Y stepper, that can go somewhere totally different. Move that out of the way. And in fact, what's really useful at this point, I find, is to save this and push to 3D. Even though this is a huge mess right now, there is crap everywhere, it can be very useful to get some sense of it in a less abstract view. And haha, where's the PCB?
Henrik Ostrov said, it's easier to see for yourself. Maybe at the end you can open it for a moment. Sadly, it's only in Finnish, so you have to use Google Web Translate.
Ah, okay. This is weird. All right, I'm in the wrong folder. Let's go back to Conveyor 3.0, save it there. Why is the PCB invisible? That is odd. Is that indicative of a problem? What if I pour the polygons and then push? Yeah, push. Do I then get copper showing up? I do, yeah. Look at that, but only the copper. And we can look at all of the wires through the PCB. You can see the thermal wires there.
T-M-I-N-I-U-T-E-S.
Yeah, you can see the thermal wires there. under the voltage regulator, that switch mode regulator.
Henrik Ostrov said, "Are these ghost components?"
Yeah, they are ghost. The PCB is a ghost PCB. That's what's going on here. There is something screwed up in Fusion's rendering of the PCB itself. The parts are all there, but the PCB is not. I wonder if that is a setting, like did I turn off PCB sync? Stop layer geometry, copper texts, options, preset, recommended. Yeah, okay. No, there's just something weird going on. Hopefully it doesn't indicate some kind of a fault in the PCB. Alright, now, where do we want other things? Power switch. Power switch towards the back.
Pete said, "My face is a screwed up render."
I know your face is a screwed up render, Pete. I've been saying that for years. Rip up, and let's just get rid of these tracks because those are holdovers from wherever I stole this from. And let's move the, oops, no, not that. Move this silk screen somewhere. Oh, no, I want to select there. That's what I want to move. Whoop. Except that I didn't get the other side of that and that. Anyway, doesn't matter. There we go. So that's just saving some silk screen for later. All right, what have we got? Now, external connections are CAN bus, which includes power, and yeah, let's get rid of these as well. Move that up there somewhere. And CAN termination can just be somewhere on the board. It's going to end up back here somewhere near the CAN transceiver. That is the transient voltage suppressor. Then I can stick power over here somewhere, about there. I'm trying to minimize the width here across that face. Bring it in that way and elongate it that way. So I'm going to be stacking stuff behind the external connections. And let's just move that all out of the way. There's the limit switch connection. The power stuff is all down here. So what I can do, what is that connection? Oh, that's the e-stop. Okay. So e-stop can go somewhere. Oh, what? I grabbed the label, not the handle for the part. Maybe... so it goes fuse, then e-stop. So how about I put that there? That can go right next to it. Doesn't need much space. And then I'm going to stick the fuse back here directly behind the e-stop connection, right there. Okay, then we can move all of this across. If I got it all, bring it across to here somewhere. Gives us plenty of room. Yeah, about there. And then bring the board sensors over here somewhere. And spin that just to make the routing easier. Bring that edge in on this. Bring it into, about there. Is that straight? Straight enough. Straight enough for down under. No, I'm just going to move it. I won't create a group. Stick it there. Yeah, a lot of the dimensions on this are limited by So what I could do is move that down here, and that would allow me to squish it this way,
Chook o'clock.
pull it this way. Oh, it is too. Yes, I definitely do not want to be late. So, alrighty, I'm just going to move some labels up here. What's my violators mode is ignore, which is fine. Stick these fiducials over here, and I think that what I might do is move, or I could just rotate the whole board. Ooh, that's tempting. So we've got the input side of the voltage regulator there. Yeah, I think I'm going to rotate the whole schmozzle. So what I'm going to do is bring this up here, rotate there, bring it across a bit.
Run, John, run.
I will. I'm going to move that like that and grab these, wipe them out of the way, and then I can do this. I can put these things up here, move the power switch to the right side, put it up here
Pete
somewhere.
said, go away, John. Nobody likes you anyway.
I know. And you like me least of all, Pete. And stick that there. Then all the power stuff can move up over here somewhere. And that gives me plenty of room for things like the limit sensor things. That I will rotate. Yeah, and then I'll end up with a more square sort of form factor board. Yeah, so I am very much at the moment in the mode of just...
Pete said, I'ma call you on stream if you're not careful, mate.
I'm very much in the mode of just shoving stuff around and finding where I can make things fit. So I'm gonna move that and put it up there. But I am gonna go. So, Pete, don't worry, you don't have to call me on stream. So I save that. The general kind of overall form factor is starting to take shape. So now I just need to move the major blocks into place, minimize the dimensions of the board, and then I can do the routing. So
Outside the box said, Uru.
yep, Uru Crispian. I'm going to push this to 3D, see what happens. It's going to be radically different now. Ka-choing. Oh, I did it without the polygons poured, so there's no copper. So let's pour the polygons. I'll just save it there and then push it. And David C. Yes, that is right. Pete is calling me. Pete. I'm going to silence that call. Rejected. Yeah, so now the copper is showing at least. So that's kind of the vague form factor of the board. All right, I'm going to save this. I am going to close everything off and go for the hot chook lunch. Pete is persistent. Pete, I'm quitting. Look at this, I'm gonna go quit. There we go. So it is closing. It's just doing all of its syncing things. Henrik! Thanks, Henrik. Thanks, Henrik. Yeah, my 3D print job finished as well. So, I am going to go And thank you very much for coming along to this live stream. Feels like I actually made a little bit of progress on the conveyor controller. Like I have a shape and a plan now, so I can start executing on it. And I will continue that because I need to get it done. So either during the week or continuing next week, we will continue. Stephen George is getting in on Pete's act, saying, "See ya, don't forget to unlike and unsubscribe." Okay, I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna hit this thing that makes me go away. That's the only way it's gonna happen. Thanks everybody for coming. Have an awesome week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.